Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, you're right. Yesterday, uh, it was a surprise, really. It was a big surprise that GDP first quarter is 0.2% for the Philippines, and a lot of the people that I've talked to were expecting at least positive growth of some sort. And but just by looking at it, it's at least 6.5% of expected growth or growth was actually wiped out because of COVID-19. Just 2 weeks
Yes.
of the COVID-19 pandemic. And
Mm-mm.
yeah, here in this slide, you're asking me about the current economic outlook. There's just a lot of talk about the alphabet recovery. Which one is it? Is it V shape, U shape? It really depends on a lot of things. Of course, economic recovery will be a function of what I think three things. It's very glaring at this point. One is we have a vaccine, and that we have a probably an effective treatment or maybe an antiviral drug versus COVID-19. But the availability of a vaccine and being able to administer it to many of the population will be the game changer at this point. Of course, another function of economic recovery at this point is public health response measures and how much
Mm-mm.
government has been doing to, as they say, flatten the curve. You know? And of course,
Mm-mm.
there's also the role of the public sector in terms of economic support measures. And we know that for the Philippines, there's been a lot of talk already of the Bayanihan Act, basically realigning some of the funds in both the budget in 2019 and 2020, and making sure that could be used for COVID-19 control efforts.
Yeah.
And there's also talk
Mm-mm.
of what we call this stimulus packages, but there is some not really controversy, but at this point it's the DOF head, well, Dominguez doesn't want any more stimulus. That's what he said. So I mean, they're thinking about the pooled money that they have from different multilaterals like the ADB and the World Bank. No,
Mm-mm.
but yeah,
Okay.
well, going back to the outlook, it's really uh, difficult at this point. But what we're seeing, if we're going to look at the different variables that I mentioned, to come up with a vaccine, as they said, the optimistic time period is 12 to 18 months. So if for example, from let's say March 2020, we have a vaccine by March 2020, yeah, 2021, then most probably we'll have for 2020 we'll have a, I would say, a slow moving growth upward,
Okay.
a recovery upward. No? So it's going to be quite. I describe it as sluggish because it's like you're going to be there's going to be some sort of containment measures, not necessarily another ECQ or GCQ, but we are now currently at an ECQ, and they're even thinking about extending it. I'm hearing some news. I don't know if that's confirmed up to June 15. So there is some sort of containment measure in the outlook that we're looking at. So we see more of the growth recovery as like slowly moving upward. You know,
Yes.
probably we won't even have a recovery this year. A slight probably because we're counting in probably an effective treatment, an antiviral drug that would bring back some sort of confidence, but not necessarily a vaccine. Vaccine would be it's there, but we're all hoping that it could be
Mm-hmm.
there this year because it will definitely shape the recovery. Know that we've seen the Banco Central just made major moves. No? So the interest rate is very low, 2.75%. Pretty much the lending rate you would see around that area. No? So and even the level of liquidity, at least that's according to some of the people in the bank, is saying it's very high today. I think some of the moves of the BSP at this point, they're working on the market is responding to these moves. And moving forward as we go through this crisis, um, uh, you would expect the BSP and government, at least the BSP at this point, would be more of an easing stance. Really, it's making sure that economic activity has to grow. Economic activity has to expand. So you'd expect lower levels of lending rates, and making sure that businesses can access funds, consumers can access funds easily to go about and to support basically the economy, make sure that everything is you know moving.
All right. So yes, indeed, the rates are definitely helping, and we hear a lot of stimulus packages being offered in the Philippines right now.
Yeah.
Would you say, sir, Asuncion, of the stimulus? Is it easier for businesses, say local businesses, SMEs?
Yeah, well, maybe just an anecdote story. Um, yeah, my wife's company is it's a chemical company. It's supposedly their company is they're into cleaning services. It's not it's an SME, no? And they have been I would say affected by this lockdown and the COVID-19 crisis, and um, they had to at certain point they had to scale down. Uh, and talking about the stimulus, talking about the help of government, she did get some help, you know,
Okay.
through their company. I
Uh-huh.
was really surprised. Okay, so wow, well, it really works. I said so, but
Mhm.
I don't know for some of the population. But in terms of if you're asking about the stimulus package at this point, it does work for some people. Yeah, making sure that they have money to buy the essential stuff, especially for those who have been affected. And for some of the firms, well, at least for what the Banco Central is doing is that they're going to charge it. The things that banks will loan out is going to be charged on the reserve requirement in a sense. So it's like really an incentive for banks to do that, to lend to small medium enterprises.
Mm-mm.
So I think that's going to be again a good thing for the small medium industries.
Yes. I really do hope that it would be much easier for SMEs to borrow, especially those who are, just 3 years old. The companies
Yeah,
are only in the beginning stages, and I hopefully hopefully that the support of the banks would also be seen through their products, the products that they're offering to the market, and
yeah.
um,
But incidentally, yeah, I think even with that move of BSP charging it on the reserve requirement, uh, if banks will loan to small medium enterprises. In fact, the Union Bank has actually been leveraging on its digital presence and some of its financial fintech partners, and it has certain programs and
mhm.
platforms that small medium enterprises can access. You know, particularly for this opportunity to expand and to be able to weather, like, especially if you're just 2 3 years this shock that we're all experiencing. So I think uh, that at least for Union Bank, what I've seen, that this is where they are offering to help the industry, especially the SMEs.